Greetings, my friends, and welcome. You are tuned to the most listened to radio talk show in the country. It's Rush Limbaugh behind the golden EIB microphone on Friday.
Live from the Southern Command in sunny South Florida, it's Open Line Friday.
You know, I long for the days of Andrew Jackson and Abraham Lincoln. Just arrest the judges and put them in jail when they violate your constitutional authority. I don't think people have any idea who Andrew Jackson was. They think he was a populist. They don't know what he did. And he went too far. Don't misunderstand. But this is simply outrageous. Greetings, my friends, and welcome to the Rush Limbaugh program. I've been trying all week to avoid leading with my anger over what all is happening here with the left and their essential takeover of the judiciary. And instead of just ripe anger, I've been trying to apply reason to this and inform, educate people on what is going on as best I can. But it ticks me off, folks. I can't tell you how angry it makes. And I'll tell you something. Judge Gorsuch, this whole business, there ought not even be a story of Gorsuch supposedly or didn't supposedly say whatever, that he was disheartened and demoralized by what Trump said about the judges. That whole story bothers me. Whether it's partly true, totally true, it just bothers me. We need people with guts to take these people on. We do not need people that are going to cower and kowtow. Because this is the last chance we're going to have. And something else bothers me today, and it has for the longest time, and I've addressed it on I don't know how many occasions. The way I've put it on previous occasions is that Donald Trump is winging this all by himself. He's got no support. He doesn't have, like Obama had the media helping him, and every liberal think tank in the world and all kinds of public advocacy helping him in protest marches, and Donald Trump has nothing. Every support group that Obama had is opposed to Trump. The only thing Trump has is the people that voted for him. What if he changes his mind one day? What if he wakes up and says, you know what? Life isn't worth this. Screw it. What if he decides, I don't care about this anymore? I don't think that's going to happen. But the point is, there needs to be some serious work making sure that what elected Trump is not just a one-time thing that only shows up every 4 years during presidential elections. There needs to there's a grassroots out there. There is a vast majority of Americans in the Electoral College election that overwhelmingly showed up for Donald Trump. And those people are desperate to still be involved and find a way to assist. They watch what's happening in the news, and they are livid. They're outraged. I went out last night for the first time in a long time to a public affair. It was a cigar dinner at a golf club near here. In fact, I met a couple prominent Republicans in the Florida House. Jose Oliva, who is the Congress, is a representative from North Miami. He's going to be the Speaker of the Florida House in a couple of years, and the current Speaker of the Florida House. So Jose Oliva was the cigar company last night that provided cigars. It was about 250 or 300 people at this event. All professional people, all eminently successful, some retired, some still working. And I don't do these much anymore for a host of reasons, primarily because it's just impossible for me to hear in rooms like that and to have conversations with people even at the dinner table. And so sometimes it's more frustrating than it is worthwhile for me. But this was a Marvin Shanken dinner, and I went to it. I can't tell you everybody in that room. There were even a couple of Democrats that came up to me. Everybody in that room was 1,000% behind Trump, 1,000% ticked off at what is going on. There is nothing. I was asked to give some remarks, and I stood up. There isn't a thing I could have said last night that would have offended them. There's not a thing I could have said last night that anybody would have thought was going too far in describing the Democrats, in describing these people were hungry to hear it because they voted for Trump And they also, I think, at times, it's not that they feel alone, because it's not that. They're on the winning side. But they know everything that's arrayed against them. And they worry about the Republicans in Congress. You know, just how firmly behind Trump and his agenda are they? In other words, they're worried that all of this is precariously balanced and that it needs constant support behind it. It's kind of frustrating to say that the only thing we've got here that gives this movement, if you want to call it that, any energy is Trump himself. And that's not a cut at Trump by any stretch of the imagination. See, I don't think right now, I don't think the argument is with much merit over, are we doing populism here or are we doing conservatism? That to me is not what's most important. What's most important is defeating the left. An ongoing project that we've just won one election in that big process. It must be ongoing. And what's happening here with these judges and these two state governors in I guess it was state of Washington, I forget, they're now doing victory laps like they won the presidency last night after this ruling, because these rulings are totally outside the law. These rulings are totally absent any reference and fealty to the Constitution. I have a story here in the stack. Hundreds of thousands rally in Iran against Trump. Who else is rallying against Trump? The Democrat Party in this country and the American left. As it so often happens, anti-American institutions, anti-American leaders, anti-American countries sound no different than the domestic Democrat Party. They sound no different than the American left. And in fact, these hundreds of thousands of Iranians rallying against Trump actually issued thanks to American Democrats for their help in supporting the nation of Iran, which is a state sponsor of terrorism. And I think it's safe to say that the Democrat Party does not care whatever damage results to this country resulting from their policy decisions or their political decisions. They'll clean that mess up later in their minds. All that matters to them right now is defeating Trump and making this election look like they actually won it, and making everybody on the victorious side, the winning side, think that it's just an aberration and not real. And that's what they're in the process of doing, and that's their modus operandi. Now, I want to review what this case is all about and give you a little judicial history as well, and talk about what is the next phase. What can Trump do? What will they do? Will they continue to fight this? Because, Trump's a winner. He likes winning. Will he continue to fight this? If he does, this could go on months, folks. These idiot. I'm sorry to be hopscotching here, but I learned of this ruling late after it had happened, after I had arrived at the cigar dinner. So I had to break away with the phone, get to a private place where I could study what the heck had happened, just because I wanted to know. We were making jokes about this, and I watched CNN earlier in the week, and some infobabe at CNN was peppering Trump supporters. Well, I've talked to a lot of lawyers. And they have said that the judges can strictly rule on what the president said during his campaign about wanting to ban Muslims. And I was beside myself and said that there is no way under the sun where that is relevant in a legal proceeding. What the president said, that would be like saying when Obama says, when they bring a knife to a fight, we bring a gun. That'd be like judges deciding that President Obama is pro-Second Amendment. You could say that he just came out and supported gun rights and because of something he said on the campaign trail. Judges and courts never do this kind of thing. But these are not judges. These are left-wing liberal hacks who wear robes. And this is going to continue because this is where the left has populated themselves. They've taken over the judiciary, and they are in the bowels of the bureaucracy in unelected positions. Here you have 3 judges on the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals who do not have access whatsoever to national security information, presuming that they know more about national security and that because of that, they can overrule the Constitution. You know, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me that whoever presented the case for the Department of Justice was incompetent. That doesn't matter. The law is the law, and the law doesn't matter now when it goes against the left. Anyway, I'm trying to rein in my anger here and keep it in check so that I continue to make salient and brilliant points. Let me take a brief time out. The president's got a press conference coming up here. It supposedly starts at 1 o'clock Eastern time. We'll jip part of it. Probably will start late, but we'll have parts of it to find out what is going on. And we'll have our in-conference commentary, as we are known for. So hang on, folks. We'll be right back and continue after this. I sometimes think we get sidetracked. And I'll give you an example of global warming debate. So here comes climate change and global warming, and here come the left, and they've got all their data. They got all their supposed scientific data, consensus of scientists, and all this scientific data, and it's made up. It's a hoax. It's made up. It's guesswork. There's no way they can know 95% of what they're asserting because we weren't taking records way back then. So all of this, the tree rings and the ice cores and it's all made up. What do? We debate them on the science. Understandably, we have our own scientists who dispute it, but we take their premise, which means we lose the argument from the get-go. When we accept their premise that climate change is happening and we start trying to prove it negative, we waste time. Because climate change is not about climate change. It's about liberalism. If you want to defeat climate change, if you want to educate people about climate change, you educate them about liberalism and socialism and who the hell it is and who the hell they are and what the hell they're doing. If you get caught up in numbers of emissions of CO2 and what's going on at 35,000 feet in the atmosphere, you have lost the debate. And I've told the science side on our side about this. But they love it. They love the science. They love getting into it, and they love proving the theory wrong. But we're not dealing with science and climate change. We're dealing with liberalism. Same thing here. It looks like we're debating the law with the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. We're not. We're under assault by the left. The left does not respect the traditions and the institutions established at the founding of this country, including the court system. They have sought to overtake the court system and turn the courts into nothing more than left-wing political operations. Now, we can sit here and we can debate the aspects of their ruling, and we can go out and we can point to everybody how this is not constitutional and they don't have this right, but they still, at the end of our argument, get away with it. We can argue all day long. We can demonstrate for as long as we live how these people have turned the law upside down. At the end of the argument, they still prevail. And people then say, well, if they're so wrong on the law, and if what you say is right, that they're abrogating the law or violating the law or ignoring separation of powers or whatever, why do they prevail? And the answer to that, hello, liberalism, liberalism. But our side loves to debate the law. A lot of people love to debate the law. And I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying do not expose the fraud that these people are engaging in with rulings like Judge Robart And another, I am so worn out with hearing we can't comment on these people, that somehow they are above and beyond scrutiny, analysis. Who says? They're left-wing hacks that wear robes. That's exactly what they are. They don't, if they see a law in their way, they simply ignore it. They find a way around it because they know it's very difficult to overturn. Now, the Ninth Circus leads the league in having decisions of theirs overturned at the Supreme Court. There's nobody even close, and it's a stunning number. I don't have it right in front of me. But you would be shocked at the number of decisions from the Ninth Circus that the Supreme Court agrees to take. I mean, it's like 80% of them, folks, or maybe even higher than that, get overturned. We don't know about this one, if it ever got to the Supreme Court, without Gorsuch being there, because they got 4 liberal hacks on that court, and Anthony Kennedy, when he has written and opined on matters like this, he has found for the power of the judiciary over the executive. So it's not a guaranteed win if it goes to the Supreme Court. But at the root of all of this, the Constitution being ignored, the will of the people being ignored, liberalism, and they have their various areas where they engage in this nefarious activity, and those areas shield them and give them authority and give them respect, like scientists in climate change and judges in the law, wearing black robes, eminently educated, among the best and brightest of our legal minds, educated in some of the finest liberal law schools in the country. I happen to think, you're not going to see this represented on the news, I happen to think the vast majority, everybody voted for Trump, is livid over what's happening here with this Robart character and the Ninth Circus. You know what else they're livid about? You turn on CNN, I just saw it a minute ago. Jacob Chaffetz, a bunch of other Republicans in the House going back home, and they're having town hall meetings. And a bunch of progressives are showing up. And they're bought and paid for, just like they're bought and paid to riot. They're bought and paid to protest. The media is in the headlines, Republican congressman facing outrage from constituents in town halls, made to look like the American people didn't want any part of this. They didn't want any part of what Trump's doing, any part of what the Republican House is doing. And they're hearing it. And that's not true. It's fake, phony protests at these Republican town hall meetings. Bought and paid for. Back in just a second.